Hey guys, Jono here from Perma Performance. So in today's video, we just want to run you through 3 really simple mobilizations that hopefully you guys can do at home as a means of potentially alleviating some lower back discomfort that you might be experiencing from spending too much time on the bike. So these positions are going to involve putting your hips in positions that you don't get exposed to on the bike and just accumulating some time in those positions. But really 3 simple drills that hopefully, you can work maybe around your recovery sessions or just time spent away from the bike. All right guys, so first position is going to be ground based. This is going to be our Shin Box or our 90-90 hip rotation. Hopefully quite obvious why it's called a 90-90. We've got 90 degrees top hip, top knee, 90 degrees bottom hip, bottom knee. Heels are going to stay down. I'm going to try and promote my torso staying relatively upright. I'm just going to lift my knees and rotate them in front of my body. And I'm just taking my hips through some internal and external rotation. So here's my external rotation, here's my internal rotation, here's my external rotation, and I'm just finding some movement. I can take my arms away from the floor to challenge my difficulty, but I don't want to sacrifice my torso position. I want to remain nice and upright and find some movement and some rotation through the hips. In this position, we can also increase the level of difficulty by removing the hands away from the floor and challenging our ability to move through that same range of movement through the hips. Sometimes it comes at a cost for people where they end up flexing and bending their spine. So if you're having difficulty with your hands away, just bring your hands back down to support, make life a bit easier for yourself, and just simplify the task to where you're getting some better movement through the hips. So main benefit really is that we're ground based, so it's a really simple task for everyone to execute, and we actually just take the hips through some range of movement that we're not getting exposed to on the bike. So we just get some rotation, we're biasing some internal rotation of this back hip, biasing a little bit of external rotation, and it's just a really simple drill just to explore some movement that otherwise wouldn't be being met on the bike. Okay, so second mobilization is a little bit of a couch stretch, or in this case a bench. So I'm looking to find some length on my back hip. So this is a bit of a stretch and an opening position for the anterior hip. So in terms of setup here, what you want, obviously back foot elevated. That could be a couch or a chair if you're working at home. Front shin's going to be nice and vertical. On this side that I'm stretching and mobilizing, I want my knee underneath my hip. And I want to facilitate a little bit of a glute squeeze. So I'm trying to actively kind of pull my hip underneath me. Initially, as I do that, I start to feel some length through the front of my hip. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to rotate into my lead hip and lead leg. And by doing that, again, I'm actively increasing the range through this back leg. I'm feeling this length a little bit more. But this is a really simple task, just to find some length through the front of their hip. Obviously for a lot of cyclists, they spend a lot of time in kind of a shortened flex position. So it probably feels quite good and probably quite challenging for them to be in this position and open up this front side of the hip. Remember, most important points, shin vertical, back knee underneath the hip, try and bring the shoulder so it's stacked over the hip. Squeeze the back glute for a bit of value and then increase that stretch by maybe rotating into that lead hip. And just work your exhale, blow the air out of your lungs as you work that rotation. Stay nice and relaxed and maybe accumulate 30, 45 seconds in this position. All right guys, so the third mobilization here is going to be basically a bit of a modified pigeon pose. So I'm using an elevated surface just to help get my hip into some external rotation. Again, there's a bit of familiarity here with having this kind of right angle set. The moment I get myself in this position, I can already feel some restriction and some limitations at the outside of my glute, which is a good thing for cyclists because they just don't get themselves into position a lot where we get into some external rotation of the hip. So this is a really easy setup. Find something that's maybe just underneath hip height. Hands can support and we need that. Back knee's going to be nice and relaxed. I've got my right angle. I'm going to use my exhale and I can facilitate a greater stretch here by rotating into my lead hip, maybe even also hinging over my front knee. So I want to remain nice and tall as I do that. And then again, I can just use my breath to kind of move in and out of shapes here and postures and positions. But again, I'm just accumulating time in some external rotation. And this is really good for biasing a little bit of length through the glute and finding some rotation through the hips as well. You can be nice and fluid with your movement. You don't necessarily have to be stuck in one position. I can come in and come out of that position. And again, the value really is just spending a lot of time in some external rotation, which is quite usually for a lot of cyclists quite limited. Ideally, we're looking for a right angle setup. For some individuals that might experience greater levels of tightness, maybe through a adductor, they might experience the fact that their foot wants to come in. That's totally fine, you can work with that. But probably over time, you're looking to just increase and open up that angle a little bit more, so we can bias a little bit more external rotation of the hip. Okay guys, so we hope you've enjoyed today's video. This video has been in conjunction with Cycle Exchange, so go check out our website for premium pre-owned performance bicycles. Don't forget to check out permaperformance.com and also our Instagram handle, Perma Performance. And don't forget to let us know how you get on with the exercises down below in the comments.